Okay, today we're going to look at bankruptcy and when someone is actually bankrupt according to the law. Bankruptcy in Italian is fallimento. They've got another word, bancrazia, which is a penal offence, but in English we say bankruptcy just to mean normal insolvency. Insolvency is another way of saying it, where your income cannot meet your debts. You can't pay back your payments, your obligations to pay. You can't manage to reach it. And the law decides this. A judge must decide when you're bankrupt, because obviously a creditor wants their money back, and maybe they ask for their money back and there's another reason they're not being paid. Maybe the entrepreneur is not happy, or the business is not happy with the work performed. Maybe it's the creditor is a supplier and they don't want to pay because they're saying it's not sufficient standard or whatever, or maybe they say the agreement was something else, etc. So a judge must decide whether someone's bankrupt, because that is a serious position to be in. That means that suddenly all your business is at risk of closing. So the law decides, and here in Article 5 we can see that there's a criteria. It describes in great detail who is insolvent, who is bankrupt. So it says, l'imprenditore che si trova in uno stato di insolvenza è dichiarato fallito. Lo stato di insolvenza si manifesta con inadempimento o altri fatti esteriori, i quali dimostrano che il debitore non è più in grado di soddisfare regolarmente le proprie obbligazioni. Okay, so we have to go a bit deeper into this. It says, lo stato di insolvenza si manifesta con inadempimenti o altri fatti esteriori. So inadempimenti, this means that obviously you're not paying back. So the one thing, obvious fact, is there's no more payments which are due, which are an obligation to pay. And it says, or altri fatti esteriori. This may be this may be, the escaping when the business is closed. It's always closed, no one answers the phone. This could be interpreted as other exterior facts. Or maybe someone is found to travel very far and not come back. This is another exterior fact. Maybe someone starts lying and making up stories. In the tragic cases, the really extreme cases, people can kill themselves when they get in such a desperate situation, and this would be interpreted as an exterior fact that demonstrates insolvency. So there are some examples of when you're deemed bankrupt, insolvent. But also it says about not being able to satisfy regularly the obligations. By regularly, they mean with normal means of payment. And normally we pay with money. Maybe in other industries there may be other means, maybe even Bitcoin or gold, in a very, very, very big industry. They can choose whatever, but what is normal is considered important, because if you're not paying what is normally, we can use a check. We call this a credit title. This is something which circulates, which is a promise to pay, a document which declares that it will pay the bearer, who owns this document, a certain amount of money. So that is the regular way of paying. What is not regular is when you pay by selling the assets, the assets of the company. This would be a sign to the other creditors that, there's something serious happening. The business, the other creditors would start to get worried, because when you start selling the assets of the company, this could be maybe a car or a van or a machine, a robot, it means the company's patrimony is diminishing and it's unable to pay, because what creates the wealth is being sold off, and obviously the other creditors will start getting nervous. And remember, creditors always worried about not getting their money, and if some creditors are satisfied by being paid with the assets of the company, the others might not have anything left to take. And obviously the businessman is having problems paying if he's not paying with the normal means. Okay, so that's important. You can be solvent and refuse to pay. This happens when people are not happy with a job. Maybe, if we see in this picture, a job was done and everything went wrong for a supplier, so maybe the company refuses to pay or even disputes the price. They say the contract didn't mean that, you're asking for too much, etc. So you want to challenge it in court. And so it is possible to be solvent and also refuse to pay, not want to pay, not fulfill your obligations, shall we say. You can have a solvency and still have a big deficit, so have no money coming in, but still be solvent if the banks are prepared to support you, if they trust that things will change, that you will get on your feet and things will get better. And as long as the banks are behind you, you are solvent, even if you're making lots of losses and things aren't progressing the way you'd like them to. If you can convince the bank that things will change, you're solvent, as long as they're prepared to keep trusting you. So it's very important, the relationship between businesses and banks. Often the bank holds the key to the business surviving through the bad times. Not always in the economy are there good times. Sometimes there are crises, and the banks, if you've got a good relation, will help you get through and keep you solvent. So if the entrepreneur can demonstrate that it's only a short period of difficulty, it's possible that the court that does the bankruptcy will do some sort of controlled administration where you can get reorganised, restructure the business. Remember, the business for Italy, for the economy, is a positive if it can be kept as a wealth creator, and there's jobs involved, etc. So it is possible for a businessman to convince a court that he needs 2 years, and during those 2 years the payments would be suspended anyway, so that would give him breathing space so he can, try to find new markets or new products, and maybe have help with an administrator helping him, that's represented by the cause, the curatore. Who goes bankrupt? So this is very important, because it's not a good thing to have this on your record that you've gone bankrupt. Normally it's the entrepreneur who takes the risk, and if the entrepreneur is making the decisions, invested the money, he will go bankrupt, and he's the one written on the deeds of the business. So normally it's the man or woman written on the deeds of the business. There's the universality principle, which means that all the assets and patrimony is, if there's bankruptcy, it means everything is at risk. All the creditors must be considered, not just some, and all the patrimony must be considered. This is an individual execution. So we've got this execuzione individuale, where an unpaid creditor can ask a judge to confiscate and sell an asset or assets if he's had a successful judgment against a businessman or a business. They can do that. They can do an individual execution, but a bankruptcy that really means that the business has failed and it will no longer continue, will close, or be saved in some way, strikes everything, strikes all the creditors and all the patrimony. So there's this universality principle.